In this video, we're going to be setting up our computer to be able to program our Arduinos. So this video is dedicated to getting our computers set up in preparation for being able to program our Arduino. This means we're probably going to have to download the IDE, the Integrated Development Environment. We may or may not need to download any drivers for our board. We'll take a little bit of time as well to look at the software that we use to program the Arduino, pointing out the different pieces of it. Let's get to it.
For those who might not be as familiar with software development, let's quickly answer the question, what is an integrated development environment? Basically, an IDE or integrated development environment is software for writing software. They call it a development environment because this program is what you use when you're developing software. It's called integrated because this software, this program running on your computer, also has additional things built into it, like a debugger or a compiler, so you don't need to run a different software to compile your language into a different language before you upload it on your device. It often also has some sort of file management built into it or some fancy features in the code editor so that you can save time as you write code or you debug code. Now, there is an Arduino IDE for writing Arduino software, and it is free open source software, so you can download it onto your computer and not have to pay anything for it. And so then you would use this software, this program, to write the software that you're going to upload onto your Arduino. Now, since these Arduinos usually have some sort of processor chip on the Arduino itself, sometimes you can get around using the Arduino IDE and just use a different IDE or write in a different language and compile it directly onto that chip or onto that processor. But with the Arduino IDE, you don't need to do that. You can simply write your software using the Arduino software and then upload it directly to the Arduino board. Now, I'm not going to go over the download and install of the Arduino IDE. It's pretty straightforward. Just depending on what type of computer you have, you go and you download the install file and then you just run the install file and it takes care of everything for you. So instead of going over how to install the software, I'm just going to leave some links here in the video and down in the description below. You just navigate to one of these websites, download the install file, and run it. Now, there are some guides available that can help you depending on what computer you're working with, whether it's Windows or Mac or Linux. You can check those out if you're having troubles. There's also a troubleshooting webpage that you can check out. And then after you successfully download and install the Arduino IDE, I have a website here that you can go and start learning a little bit more about the different pieces and layout of the Arduino IDE. All right, so let's take a quick look at the software that we're going to use to program the Arduino. So I have here in the bottom left the desktop icon that you use to open Arduino. And when you open it using that icon, you're going to see something very similar to this sketch window that I have marked up here. Starting at the top and working down, like most graphical programs nowadays, there is a menu bar at the top that has additional commands and features in it. Below this menu with additional commands, there is a ribbon with some of the commonly used commands. For instance, the check mark is verify. After you're done writing the code, you can use this to just check that the code is correct. There's no errors with the code in terms of syntax or anything like that. Then there's upload. This is what we're going to use to transfer the software from our personal computer onto the Arduino board. Now, if you hit upload and you haven't verified yet, it will go ahead and try and build or compile the code. And if it's successful, it will automatically upload it to the Arduino board. However, if it's not successful building it, you'll see a message down in the message area. And it'll just tell you what the error is, and you can go and try and figure out how to fix that. And then we have a couple of different commands for dealing with sketches. For Arduino, they call these files of software, files of code, sketches, right? So you're looking right now at the Blink sketch. If I wanted to create a new file with new code, I would click the button right there to create a new sketch. And then, of course, Open Sketch will open an existing file with code in it, right? An existing sketch. And then the Save Sketch will just save this current sketch that you're working on. Just typical file handling commands there. The difference is instead of calling it a file, it calls it a sketch. All right, then if you look at the far right of that toolbar, you'll see something called the serial monitor. While the Arduino board is connected to our computer using the USB cable, we can actually send commands back from the Arduino to our computer using this serial monitor. Now, why would we do that? Well, it's great for trying to debug code. Might help with calibrating as well. If you have a sensor and you're trying to figure out what the min and max value are, you can use a serial monitor and just take it to the extremes and figure out what the value it sends back is. Underneath this toolbar of the common commands, you'll see the code editor. This is the text editor that you use to write your code. And of course, when you have bugs, right, we all write bugs into our code. You can go ahead and use the code editor to fix the code that you wrote. Underneath the code editor is a spot where it gives the status when you're compiling or verifying. And below that would be the message area where it will tell you whether it had an error or gives you some information. And then on the far bottom right, you'll see the board and port configuration. So this lets you know what board you're building to and the communication port that you're trying to talk to the Arduino board on. So this is the basic layout of the Arduino IDE, and we'll get more into some of the different commands as we run through the tutorials and as we work on programming our Arduino for the different projects.
In the next video, we're going to be finishing up our preparation for doing the Arduino tutorials by taking a look at what this piece is and how we can use it to set up for our experiments. So go ahead and click on that next video and we'll get to it.